Welcome to the Living in the Future podcast, where we bring to light specialized topics from life in the modern age. This episode, I've recorded a short essay on the death of the personal computer and the birth of its successor, the network computer. I think Steve Jobs helped design not only the first commercially viable, truly personal computer, but the last one as well as its successor. While Xerox may have been the visionary to design the tools of our modern world, Jobs, the quintessential marketing genius, knew how to sell the invention to us. The personal computer, and specifically the ones that Jobs helped create, were designed to help us do things, whether balance our checkbooks or create some publication for our community's benefit. The Apple IIe brought VisiCalc to balance our bank account. Then Apple Works to help us write documents. PrintShop helped us make publications. When the Macintosh arrived, it brought graphic design applications and the desktop publishing revolution. Though Microsoft Access and PowerPoint were superior, FileMaker Pro and HyperCard brought us the ability to organize our information and present it in a distributable way. The descendant of Xerox's Bravo word processor, Microsoft Word, allowed us to create documents any way we could think of. Later, QuickTime brought video to the desktop. Most importantly of all, the next operating system and its descendant, Mac OS X, brought the ability to write our own professional programs in an easy and developer-efficient way. Personal computers were designed to empower a rich society of individuals to do more. Most importantly, the software ran on your device. You controlled when it started, when it stopped, and when it could possibly connect to the internet, as well as what it produced. If some software went out of control, you could pull the plug on your device and you stopped it. You could copy it, and the files it produced were on your local system to determine who and what you shared them with. Nobody could access your system unless you knew about it. When Jobs created the next OS, which later became Mac OS X, it was to bring Promethean fire to the masses. The Unix operating system, which Bell Labs had created, the very same company and power structure that Jobs and Wozniak were rebelling against when they created their phone network hacking blue boxes based on John Draper's Esquire article, became something that everyday mortals, and not just companies with money for a supercomputer, could reap the benefits of. It's fitting that when Jobs introduced the successor to the personal computer, that he would partner with the same behemoth, split up and recombined into an entity with the same name but none of the monopoly power. The iPhone ushered in the beginning of the end of personal anything. Sun often said the network is the computer, but with the iPhone and later Android, this became true to the extreme. If you ever watch someone use TikTok without seeing their screen, they appear no different than some of the heroin addicts forced onto the streets of American cities. A common complaint of psychotic people is that they are being spied on. Another used to be that people on TV were watching them back. One therapist, when confronted with the spying on comment, replied, "They are spying on you. Get over it." That is the world that the iPhone brought. Not only is it common knowledge that every device you own is reporting on your behavior, it's assumed that we should get over it. The iPhone made this a reality, not necessarily because it provided a closed operating system, or that it could connect to the network, but the device included a variety of surveillance sensors, all reporting your behavior to central servers, allowing you to only install software approved by others without your ability to have the same review process, and constantly pushing information to you from the network that it was determined you should like. Richard Stallman calls cell phones personal trackers, not consumer electronics. The argument with mass surveillance today is that if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. This argument is on its face ridiculous and can be proven false quite quickly by seeing how celebrities react when their private jet locations are tracked and made public. The amount of information that the cloud brokers have on you, correct or incorrect, dwarfs this the same way the universe dwarfs an ant. By disclosing all this personal information, you are trusting whoever you disclose it to work in both your best interest as well as society's best interest, whether that disclosure is to an algorithm or a person. The reality is far more depressing. While the FBI has used the power of the network computer to remove botnets from infected PCs, installing patches or updating remote systems, there is also the story of the postmasters of England. They used network terminals to take postage. Fujitsu software agents routinely updated material on the terminals. A decade ago, many of the postmasters were accused falsely of fiscal impropriety and sentenced and fined. People committed suicide. A decade later, the reality that the software and the people inspecting their terminals were the mistaken ones is a public scandal in Britain. In the United States, I think we have no such power. A harmless example which has happened to me is that I uploaded a slideshow of my wedding which had music which I had purchased multiple times, but which was not licensed for derivative works. Google removed the audio from the video that I had uploaded, leaving me a silent slideshow. For now, the scanning is to ensure copyright, but given the right political administration, I'm sure it can also scan for problematic phrases in documents as well. Though, with consequences, I assume that'll look much more like what happened to the postmasters. With Google Drive, you don't have logs, so it's entirely possible that the problematic phrases could be software or placed there by someone else. I doubt you'll be able to prove it. How we form opinions, and thus our reality, is based on how we perceive things. I once asked a friend how he knew things were true, how he knew anything, and he responded that there was an objective reality. I responded that he might only know what he perceived. Maybe not even that, and the rest he took on trust from other people. His response was that if a computer perceives it, then I know it for sure. The assumption is that the computer is by default, if not impartial, then at least wholly accurate. This bias is what wrongly convicted those postmasters a decade ago, and it continues to destroy lives. In war zones, decidedly non-neutral companies make decisions to give away individuals' locations to people targeting them with some sort of explosive ordnance. The power that we have all given away with the network computer, named because it's controlled by the network, not that it is allowed to use the network, becomes even more grim as political winds change and capital aligns itself with authority figures who might not even have electoral legitimacy. These are the changes that ended the personal computer. The latest form of the trope of assuming computers are impartial and accurate is the LLM. These language models often produce inaccurate data, poor code, or dangerous personal advice. But because of the computer's assumed accuracy and infallibility, people constantly seek out their assistance. Only in a world where all your data is part of the network would such a device be possible. Without massive online databases, LLMs would not be able to be trained, and without massive cloud providers able to spend billions on hardware tuned to do vector math, these creations would not be possible. The LLM is the antithesis of the personal computer because every action occurs on the network. No hardware is necessary, and everything is done as the cloud provider has trained the LLM to perform. If all we know is what we directly perceive, then how do we build reality in the world? The answer is that it's shaped by people who shape our public opinion, as Edward Bernays, the World War I propagandist, knew. In his book Propaganda, he says, "The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our taste formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smooth functioning society. Our invisible governors are, in many cases, unaware of the identity of their fellow members in the inner cabinet. Bernays understood the power of shaping public opinion. He also understood the purpose of it, to coordinate large groups. The only value in this world is if you can get others to go along with you, to have a vision of you that is in coordination with the vision you have of yourself, so that you can work together to do bigger things. Corporations force this sort of cooperation from a top-down approach, and with the threat of starvation and homelessness. The network computer forces our cooperation through Skinner box-style rewards, always giving us dopamine as our gift for even more submission. In Soviet Russia, some apartments were fitted with radios that you could not turn off or tune, only turn down. Our trackers today have solved the problem by giving us slight rewards along with the coercion. True peer-based cooperation isn't possible with either mechanism, but only when a collection of equals try and work out the nature of reality. As a computer scientist, I wondered about the purpose of gossip in humans and how it might need to be replicated amongst AI or intelligent computers. I now believe that all human communication is an attempt to share and coordinate perceptions so that a bigger group can mobilize and work together. The network ensures that the coordination is orchestrated, much like a corporation, from some top-down hierarchy. If we look at historical top-down hierarchies that have controlled empires, we often see that the structure is prone to self-aggrandizement, manipulation, exploitation, and a consumptive lifestyle crystallized by Bernays in the 20th century that will destroy us all. With that, I'd like to lament the death of the personal computer, which was the last device designed to help us build horizontal and not vertical networks. To make our phones into personal computers would not take large changes, but small ones. A large portion of the Android operating system is open source, and to allow us the ability to maintain and update our phones with software that we controlled would be quite easy. Not only that, but to focus on local files, local music instead of Spotify, local books instead of web pages, to tell us and allow us to audit all the information sent to the cloud about our actions. These are possible changes that will never happen. Imagine if you had to pull every piece of information you consumed instead of having it pushed to you, even if some of it was suggested, so that you regulated your information intake instead of slurping up whatever was put in your trough. Businesses would never allow such a profit-killing change. The power dynamic has shifted, and no one in power wants it to shift back. Hi, if you like what you heard, or you enjoy the podcast for interviews or the audio play or other essays, drop a line. My email address is don, D-O-N, at livinginthefuture.rocks. Thank you very much.